Hello and welcome back to another episode of Hub2Connect Podcast. Today we have a really special guest, Mona Abdulrahim Santl from Mind Your Power. And we'll have exciting topics for you because we will be talking about mind, power, and of course, we have to know which mind exactly are we going to be talking about. So stay tuned and let's all welcome Mona Abdulrahim.
Thank you, Walid. Yes,
You're
which
welcome.
mind are we talking about? We'll see more of that. Thank you so much for
You're
having me
welcome.
here. Mind and power are two words that are it's the name of my company. So I'm really excited to talk about both topics. So thank you for inviting me to that.
You're
And
welcome.
it's really realizing how much power we have over our mind. Yeah, especially nowadays, I think, Walid, that a lot of people are saying that, I'm in a certain situation because of the situation that we're in the world, whether it's a political situation or a financial situation. We do tend to blame others for the state that we are in, especially also the emotional states. Yeah. And basically, a lot of the messages that we give at Mind Your Power is how to regain the power of your mind and the power over your mind, because your mind has so much power and you're not aware of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
But like you said, we are actually here talking about the subconscious and not the conscious mind.
exactly. So many people don't realize that. Even me, I mean, we are working for a long time, but me, myself, still, I need to learn a lot about that. Okay, so let's start with hypnotherapy because many people are interested and they don't actually know what hypnotherapy is and whether it is something dangerous to do or not. So, can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. Well, let me maybe clarify first of all. Hypnotherapy is the therapy form that we do in the state of hypnosis.
Okay.
So, what's the state of hypnosis? It's actually nothing scary at all. And yes, you're right. Many people, when they hear hypnosis, they think that I'm going to do like boom and some magic, and then you're going to, I don't know, walk around like a chicken or something like that. So, this is actually really not it. What hypnosis is, the hypnosis state of the mind is the mind that is the subconscious, and that's the mind of imagination. So, if you want to divide, very, very simply said and very easily explained, the conscious mind would be the mind of thinking rationally. Now, when we're talking, we're sitting here. This is the reality. This is the conscious mind talking. But everything that we're not aware of, like even my hand gestures and the way I talk, and maybe even some thoughts that come to my mind subconsciously, or some beliefs that I have, all of these are subconscious. So when we imagine things, and let me ask you this, I mean, we're in Ras Al Khaimah here, which is an hour drive from Dubai, for those who don't know. So, do you ever drive and then when you get to Ras Al Khaimah, you say, oof, where was I for the last 15 minutes?
Well, it sometimes happened to me when I'm really tired.
When you're really
When
tired.
I'm really tired, and then I try to remember, okay, which road did I take exactly?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's what, but you did take the road. Yeah, you did
Yes,
take it and
yes.
you reached home.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you sometimes ask yourself, I do that, and I'm thinking, did I really who drove? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's because we've done things over and over again, and that road is so ingrained and in the subconscious that I don't need to consciously focus on it. Yeah. So I'm not really focused on the reality of what is now. We imagine a lot during the day. And now let's go to taking that state of mind where we're imagining things that are not real. And now let's see, how can we deal with that in therapy form? Well, a lot of people, and I'll take two examples. One example of the past, which are fears, and one example of the future, which is anxiety. So, simply said, a fear is, let's say, I once was scared because of a dog. Now, every time I see a dog, I'm scared again. Or, I once lost my job. So now maybe I have less confidence because I'm scared to lose my job again. So, what these people do is they actually live the past, but it's an imagination because it's not happening right now.
Yeah.
But I relive it today. Anxiety is the same thing, right? What might happen? Oh, I might get sick. I might lose my job. I might have problems with this and this. I might miss the deadline, but I'm not there yet. However, that fear of the future, that anxiety, is just an imagination until now, but it is affecting me right now. And so in therapy, what we do in hypnotherapy, we use exactly the power that that mind has to create this imagination, but we use it in a positive way. That means we reverse that. So if you say, well, what if I lose my job? I might lose my job. Okay, what if you don't use your job? What if you finish on the deadline and on time? And when you start imagining this and working with your imagination and with the power that you actually have inside of you, you can overcome any fear, any anxiety, and more. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. It does make sense. But how do you do this process of the hypnotherapy? I mean, is the person going to be hypnotized? I mean, or he's not? This is, this is what most people think. I mean, what is the process? Is
Okay. Okay. And yes, you're absolutely right. Are the people going to be hypnotized? They are going to be hypnotized. But what is the process of hypnotism?
exactly.
And that's where these misconceptions
Yeah.
happen, because a lot of people really think that they will be asleep or unconscious.
Yeah.
When you say you're under or you're hypnotized, you're in a state that where I can take control over you. This is all not true. All it is being in that state of imagination, that state where your subconscious mind, where we're working with feelings and emotions versus reality and facts. So how do we do this? Walid, if you close your eyes just for a moment, just do that. Close your
Okay.
eyes, okay? And just imagine a very nice vacation that you had, a beautiful vacation that
All
you
right.
had. Where are you? Tell me where you are.
I'm in Sarajevo.
In Sarajevo?
Yes.
With someone or alone?
With someone.
With someone.
Yeah.
Describe what you see around you.
Greenery, beautiful nature.
Okay. Are there any sounds that you can hear?
Yes.
What do you hear?
Birds.
Any smells that you smell?
Not really.
But what are you feeling?
Relaxed.
Relaxed.
Yeah.
Okay. Open your eyes again and come back.
Okay.
That was already a light state of hypnosis.
Wow.
Because you did see, you heard,
Yeah.
you did not smell, because the sensory perception of and the sensory preferences of people are different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people smell a lot, some people don't hear or don't see it. It really depends, it doesn't matter, but you were there. And the thing is that you actually felt relaxed.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to do that because I don't want to take you there. I still have some work to do here with you. But if I would take you to a place,
I will start talking about travel in Bosnia.
No, but if I would take you now to a place where you were actually angry or sad or not so nice, I said go to a
Yeah.
vacation because for most people a vacation is a nice thing, but it can also be a not so nice thing. But if I had told you go to a place where you felt really sad or angry, you would actually feel these feelings right now.
Okay.
Yeah. And we know this. Sometimes we remember disturbing experiences of the past.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we actually feel that again.
Exactly.
And the thing is, we don't only feel it in our mind, we even feel it physically. Yeah. Sometimes
Yes,
like the
yes.
stomach.
Stomach, heart rate,
Mm-hmm.
you feel that like high temperature, I mean
Yep.
hot, yeah.
Yep, exactly. So, and that is really interesting because that explains how body and mind are connected. Just a
Okay.
thought of something disturbing will actually disrupt, for example, sometimes your digestive system. Yeah. So
Or the adrenaline might work.
the
or, yeah,
adrenaline, the fight or flight response, right?
Yeah.
The adrenaline and many other stress hormones, which actually really disrupt the natural and calm and very healthy flow of everything in the body, of the organs.
Yeah.
So this is how we actually also can work with physical issues. So that's
Interesting.
basically the process that we do,
Interesting.
yeah? So if you'd come to me to answer your question from before,
Yeah.
if you'd come to me for a session, the first thing I would do is well, talk to you a little bit first, but then really relax you to the point where your mind is somewhere else, not here, because we don't want to analyze. That's the
Yeah.
last thing we want to do. We're not analyzing. We're really allowing you to feel the emotions that you're feeling. Let's say you're working with the fear of flying, yeah? So we're using that fear, we're using these emotions, and then there is a very interesting phenomenon. The mind will link and associate these feelings to where did they actually start. The
Okay.
mind does that in a sense of, for example, if you have, I'm sure everybody, and I'm looking now at, I don't know, the audience there, or everybody has experienced that if you smell a smell, I smell a certain cake and wham, I remember my
Yeah,
grandmother's
this
kitchen.
happens to me a lot. Yes,
Yeah?
yes.
Or you smell a
yes.
perfume, remember someone.
Yeah.
This is smell. But also with songs. I hear a certain song and boom, I'm back 20, 30 years ago.
Exactly,
Yeah?
exactly. Sometimes, yes, I hear a song and I remember immediately the 90s or
Exactly.
yeah,
But what do you remember,
a certain
Walid?
period.
But what do you remember?
Being, I mean, with someone or with family or some, I mean, exact location we were at or
Absolutely.
yeah.
But these family or with someone or the location are places that meant something to you.
Okay.
Yeah? You
Yeah.
don't remember things that were meaningless.
Yeah, of course.
So that means if the mind associates situations that are meaningful, either very, very positive or very, very negative. And this is what we use in the therapy session. So we use the emotion that you have now, the fear, let's say, and we call it anchor. It anchors, or it was anchored at a certain place, and then your mind will take you there like it does with the songs.
Wow.
And then, of course, what we do when we reach there, let's say you are 3 years old and you're in a plane, or you're maybe not even in a plane. Sometimes the fear of flying, let's say, can be just a fear of closed spaces, closed doors.
Yeah.
Or it can be related to heights. Or it even can be related to, I had once a client who was always sent to his grandparents because the parents were divorced. And so every time he entered a flight, he had that feeling that, my parents are pushing me away. So
Oh.
it can be so many things that are now related to the airplane.
Okay.
So when we go back there and the people see themselves, and by the way, most of the time it is between the age of 0 and 5, because there we don't have that conscious thinking yet. So we're absorbing everything that is going around us.
But if you ask me to remember something until the 5th year, it's almost impossible.
You will
yeah.
not consciously, but subconsciously you will.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the next step that we do in the session, in the therapy session, is change the perception. Make that dog or flight or whatever say, okay, at that time, okay, you were afraid. At that time, this and this happened, but it's not happening now anymore. So we just change the perception of that small child inside of you. It's a very interesting process and very, very powerful and very fast.
Interesting. I will have to come for a session.
Please do,
Definitely.
Walid. Yes.
I mean, I would like to have that feeling to see actually, I mean, to feel the whole process. It's really interesting.
You already felt a little bit like a minute of it right now when I send you to vacation. Yeah. But obviously, most clients who come to us will have some issues that we're dealing with. So
Okay.
it's not always a relaxing vacation.
Yeah, I know.
It is often
It
related.
could be also things related to work, things related to family, things related to
Yes, and then many times, when they go back and remember these events, many times they are traumatic. Yeah, so at least traumatic for that small child.
Okay, let's take one example, other than the flights, vacations, and so on. Now, if someone is afraid, for example, of dogs,
Yes.
so what usually are the results after the hypnotherapy? I mean, after that, next day they pass beside the dog and say, okay, I'm not afraid anymore, or?
Ideally, yes.
Okay,
Ideally, yes.
okay.
And I don't want to put the picture here that one session is a magical session. It's not.
Of
It's
course,
not.
yeah.
It's a therapy form like any other therapy. It is fast. It is extremely fast. But I do have a lot of clients who stop smoking after just one session, or who fear of spiders. They come in like totally afraid, and then they go out and they see a spider. It's not that you'll go and touch a spider and it'll be your best friend,
Yeah.
but at least you can pass by it
Or ignore
and
it, or yeah.
ignore it. With the dogs, the same thing. Many clients really just need 1 or 2 sessions, and then they can, they don't have to run away from a dog. It can be there. It's not that they maybe want to touch it, or maybe they do. They do. So
Yeah.
it's really the results are very, very individual, and it really depends on you. Again, it's mind your power. Mind the power of your own mind, and it is more powerful than you think. So it's also a lot of what do we say to ourselves, and how ready are we to actually accept that change. The more ready you are as a client, the faster it is.
Interesting. Really. I mean, I heard a lot about hypnotherapy, but I wasn't imagining that it's that far. I mean, and it is done in this way.
You say that far. I have a lot of clients who go back into the womb, and that's really interesting, because we now know that the child is also able to hear or to feel anything going on in his mother's mind, let's say beliefs of the mother, or fears of the mother, or tension just in the muscles in the womb already. Yeah. And that's why we say actually that from the age of 0, I'm not saying 1, but 0, from the womb till about, let's say, 6 years plus minus, the child's mind is like a sponge. It's I like to compare it sometimes to a computer.
We say that about our daughter. Always we say, okay, take care, don't say anything. She's a sponge.
That is so true, and I have a special program called Hypnoparanting,
Okay.
which you are aware
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
and which actually is exactly what you're saying. What do parents say? So hypnoparenting is not hypnosis for parents or hypnosis for children. It's really the awareness for parents. How am I, as a parent, hypnotizing my child? And Walid, what you just said, when you say something in front of your daughter, not even to her, but in front of her, and she might hear it, in that young age from 0 to 6, and I'll just say 0 to 6 roughly,
Yeah.
they don't have that conscious mind thinking, why is he now saying that my sister is better than I am? No, I'm not believing that. I don't want that belief. They don't have that thinking, that rational thinking. So if you say, oh, look at your sister, what she's doing, and you repeat that over and over again, that mind, that subconscious mind, is maybe absorbing the belief that others are better than me, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's just an example, because again, there are no rules. So even 2 sisters or 2 children with the same parents who say the same thing can maybe perceive it differently. So it's not, if you say that
It
this
depends
will
from case
happen.
to
No.
case, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I'll give you one example, because my daughters, like for the past 2, I mean, from the pandemic, they are doing a lot of online schooling, and they are spending a lot of time with us. We are also like working most of the time from Bosnia or from
Yes.
the UAE, and most of the time we are either working from home or we are going to the office or something, but they are always with us. Either while during our work they are doing the schooling and so on, but all the time they are with us. And like a month back, my daughter was on the phone and I see she was creating an Instagram account. And I was like, okay, what are you doing? And she was like, okay, I created my own business.
Uh-huh.
And she started making those beads, those, you can see this bracelet.
This is from her?
This is from
Wow.
her, yeah,
Nice.
exactly. And she was like, okay, I'm starting my own business. If you are doing your own business, I want to do that too, as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
And actually, we found out that she was listening to us every day whenever we are having Zoom meetings with clients, whenever we are talking about, and at home, of course, my wife and I, we are working together. We are discussing a lot about business, about the future, what are we going to do. So definitely from the sponge, she was like listening to us all the time, and she just decided to start her own business, and she's only 10 years old. So
Wonderful. What a wonderful thing. And yes, this works in different ways also,
yeah,
Walid. So she heard what you said, but also a child learns actually a lot of what they see, not only what we say to them. So to the parents who take the hypnoparenting course, I always say it's not what you say to your child, it's actually how you
how,
behave in
yeah,
front of your child, because our visual cortex in our brain is much faster than the part of our brain that translates words or makes sense out of words, right? So how you behave and what the child sees is what they learn. Yeah. And how many times do we see, for example, you're talking about phone and Instagram accounts,
yeah,
how many parents do we see holding a phone 24 hours a day, they sleep with it even, but they say to their children, put your phone away and you're not allowed your phone.
yeah, it happens to us.
it's
I mean,
it's
yeah,
how can the child learn that?
yeah,
Yeah. And even what we do, how many times do you hear, for example, you're going to the mall, yeah, you go to the food court in the mall and you hear parents say, stop shouting.
yeah,
But what am I doing? I'm shouting. Yeah. So how can a child learn to speak in a calm way if I am shouting? Yeah. So we need to really, really, really start with ourselves. And I can't say this enough. I have so many clients where the parents bring their children and say, please fix my child, she's driving me crazy or
like,
whatever.
so it's not the child that
It's
is,
yes. And
it's the
many
parent, yeah,
and many times, and you've probably heard that, where the parents say, at school she's so good and the teacher is so happy with her, but at home she's terrible. So my question is always, if she is really good at school, that means she's just reacting to you at home. Yeah. So it doesn't mean she is terrible. It
yeah.
means she's in this environment, there is something that is not working. And typically,
Maybe they're feeling like bored, or they want to go out or something, and then
yeah,
at home they're acting,
yeah.
they,
Or they need
or
attention.
they
A
need
lot of it is
attention, yes, or
attention.
they need to take their energy out or something, yeah.
And then typically, basically, when the parents change their behavior, the child automatically changes.
Wonderful, amazing. I mean, many parents definitely are not aware of this, especially here. I think in the Arab world, a little the parents are trying to maybe dominate a lot on, I mean, over the child, and just, they are, many of them are shouting a lot, many of them are, so
Every parent wants the best for their child.
definitely, yeah,
And they were maybe brought up in a certain way and just do the same because they think this is the way to
this is the
bring up
right way, yeah,
children.
yeah,
uh, when you say very dominating or very authoritarian and very maybe shouting or hitting,
yeah,
they believe that these are the ways to set boundaries to the child. The flip side of it is the more you tell a child what to do, the less you're allowing his creative side and his problem solving side to be developed. I do a lot of corporate training, which you're also aware of. And how many times do we actually do corporate training for problem solving and decision making? Why do we need, as adults in an organization, we need problem solving skills training? Because we are not trained, because we are trained as children to do what others tell us to do.
yeah,
And this is whether it's parents, whether it's school. If you look at the education system around the world, it is changing a lot. And we're seeing that they are developing more the minds of the children to come up with ideas versus how it was before, just learn by heart. Yeah. So, but the way it is still in many countries is, or many places is, you need to do this, this is what you have to do, and we just follow.
yeah,
Yeah. And so a child who is not taught to think of how to find a solution for that will have difficulties later on. And you're talking about the culture here and in the UAE, and a lot of children here have nannies. So, in order to do things quickly, it's either the mother or the nanny who will feed the child, dress the child, put on his shoes, make sure that things move on quickly. So the child is not able to develop these skills that he should actually be developing himself. But I must say, I'm not blaming any parent with that anything, because every parent, and I'm sure of that, every parent wants the best for their children.
Yes.
Sometimes they're not aware of what they're actually doing by wanting the best, by giving advice too much.
Sometimes I think they are thinking, okay, if I'm good, I was brought up well, I'm gonna do the same thing as my parents did, which might be wrong for the child.
And that's where also, you know, it really depends on the child himself and on the personality type of the child. You can have 4 children and they can all be different. And it's again, we hear this a lot. Oh, I have already 4 children, I know how to bring up children. Well, no, because your 5th child might be totally different. And is totally different, actually.
I mean, we are 5 in the family.
Yes.
My brothers and a sister, and we are all different.
Yeah.
We are not the same. I mean, each one of us is different from the other. Each one of us has his different kinds of problems, different kinds of fear, different success, different. I mean, so definitely, yes.
You know, Walid, this is something that I learned from traveling. I lived in many, many different countries and different continents. And what I always say, there is no right and wrong. So when you look at your child or at any other human being, always give them the benefit of the doubt that they can be different than you and it still can be right. Not my way is the only way. I have a certain way to do homework. You might have another way. So let the child live their style of perceiving, of processing information, and each person is different.
Exactly. Now I'll give you example for our 2 daughters. One of them is good. Like I mean, she started talking at a very early stage, and writing and understanding different languages, but she's not good in math, for example. The other one is very bad in writing, very bad in reading, but she's doing mathematics excellent. I mean, better than the other one.
Yes.
So it's really, I mean, big difference. You will find that big difference.
And not one is better than the other.
Yeah. I mean, each child has something good on its own.
Yeah. And you can see that, you know, we're talking about children now, but go to companies. Look at one team. It's not this is the way we have to work. It's really about discovering what are the strengths of this person, what are the strengths of this person, and how can we collaborate and make it work, you know, if we look at it from a corporation side.
I know you are doing a lot of trainings for the corporates.
Yes.
Right? So in terms of corporate, I mean, how can you help organizations do better?
There's a long list, Walid. I could go, you know, how long do we have for that? You know, it's really a long list. But if I wanted to really bring it down to one single thing, I would say communication.
Okay.
Why? Because first of all, we communicate all the time. Everything is about communication. And we know that about, I don't know in percentage, but a lot or most of the mistakes that happen are due to miscommunication. So if we can if we take, let's say 2 colleagues, I say something to you, you will perceive it in your own way. You'll understand it in your own way based on your filters. So this is something that comes from the studies of neurolinguistic programming, NLP, which says, I say something, that's what comes into you from the external world, but you filter it according to your values, your beliefs, your past experiences, maybe your planning, etc. And then you understand it in a certain way. And then you base your behaviors and your actions on what you understood, not on what I said.
So basically, you need to understand how to communicate with a person to change his understanding, or?
So I need to speak your language, basically. I need to understand maybe you more to be able to. I will never understand everything because I don't know all your background and filters, etc. Yeah. Let's just take a very simple example. I say someone comes in the door now and says we have to stop in 5 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
And let's say you had 3 people sitting here. Yeah.
Yeah.
One person says, good, because in his mind, right, his filters are, I have plans for the afternoon. So actually, the thing that just happened is a perfect thing. Yeah. So his state of mind will be a happy state of mind. His behavior will be accordingly.
Okay.
Let's say you have a second person who says, his filters are much more analytical and maybe focused on, no, I paid for that room till 4 o'clock, so I want to have my rights. So his state of mind will be angry. And his behavior will be different because he'll say, no, this is right, and he will, this is wrong, sorry, and he will behave in a certain way. And a third person might just be disappointed and again behave differently. So just because we have certain filters, certain experiences, or certain agendas in our mind, we will understand the same thing in a different way. And that's just a general rule for communication, that it is really, really difficult, but at the same time very important to align communication, to have the sender and the recipient understand each other. So when we take this into corporate, again, it can be colleagues, but it can be a delegation from a manager to his subordinate saying, okay, please do this and that. And maybe he omits one word or says it in a way that was not clear to the recipient. There will be a miscommunication. There might be a mistake that happens, which results
happens
in...
a lot in corporations.
Exactly. And that results in, we need to repeat that. So it's, again, time consuming. So it's the responsibility of both the one who speaks and the one who understands or listens. The one who speaks has to speak in a clear message and has to make sure to clarify that the message is well received. And the one who listens has to listen actively, listen with empathy, listen in order to understand. We often listen, and while we're listening, we're already thinking of the answer.
Yeah.
By the way, with children, this is a big thing with parents.
Children, it's hundreds of answers.
You don't even listen to them, and you have your advice already prepared.
Yeah.
And so this is a big issue that causes misunderstandings, conflicts between people. So if I go back to corporations and organizations and say, why did I say communication? Because you can find it in delegation, you can find it within teams, so team working together. You can find it in leadership, how do leaders talk to their team members? You can find it between a person and a customer. So in customer service, you need communication. In sales, you need communication. You need communication everywhere.
This was my next question. Now doing NLP, so it doesn't only help the communication in between the teams or in between a corporation. It helps also salespeople to communicate with clients or with new clients or with potential.
Yes. NLP, again, I could talk for hours about that, but it's also really understanding the language of the person, and a language can also be a sensory language. I will give you one example for NLP, how to use it in sales. So obviously we need to understand who is my customer. We need to understand the needs of the customer. We also need to understand the personality style of the customer. Is it a very detail-oriented customer, or is it one that needs the big picture, etc.? And there are tools where you can really, within the first few minutes of talking, recognize that. And the more you do it, obviously, the easier it gets. But there's also the senses, because, Walid, how do we get information from outside into our mind? How do we know what's happening around us? Through what?
Through hearing, through mouth?
Absolutely. Hearing, seeing, so through our senses, So everything that comes into my mind, every information that I get from someone, when it's about communication, it can be, what do I see? What do I hear? What do I smell? What do I feel? What do I taste? That's how we know what's happening around
Yeah.
us. So the senses are really important. There is a language of senses. When we did that small hypnosis bit earlier, and I said to you, some people are more visual, some people are more auditory. Well, that's exactly what you can use in sales. And I'll give you a very short example here. So let's say I want to sell a red Ferrari. And you're a very visual customer. Yeah. I will say to you, look at that color. Look at the red, the bright red, how it's shining in that sunlight. Yeah.
But how do you know that I'm a visual customer?
Again, this is something that
Okay.
you can learn very, very quickly by listening to the words that you say,
Okay.
by looking at your eyes, but it would be too much to explain now.
Yeah.
But let's say I know that because I've sensed that. And you would also use words like see and look more.
Okay.
So I would say to you, look at that bright red color, look how it shines. And, when you drive down, let's say Sheikh Zayed Road, everyone will look at you, right? So I'm focusing on the looking on this. Yeah. Now, if I have the same car, but I have an auditory person, and usually visual people speak also very fast, because they're seeing everything already in front of them, right? So they're very fast in speaking and they gesture a lot. Auditory people are a little bit slower in their speech. So if I know that this is an auditory person, I won't say to him, look at the bright red. Maybe I will also say it, but I will focus on just turn on the engine and listen to it. Yeah. And by the way, did I tell you that it has a great sound system in it? And when you drive down Sheikh Zayed Road, everybody will hear you. I won't say see you.
Yeah.
Right? And if I have a very kinesthetic person, these are the people who feel. And you can recognize these by a lot of things, but one of them is they speak slower because they're feeling everything that they're saying. They're processing it differently. So this person, I will say to him, just sit inside and feel the leather. And feel, when you're driving, and the steering, hold it, yeah. And when you drive down Sheikh Zayed Road, you feel like the king of the road, yeah. Also, my tone, the tone of the voice, if you noticed, went different. It went slower because this is what we call in NLP building rapport with someone. Just connecting with someone in his tone, in his level, and with his language. So this is a very, very simple example of how to use this in sales.
Wow. I mean, you just gave one example with three different kind of people. And this is actually what makes salesperson different from the other. And
absolutely.
In my opinion, yeah.
Absolutely,
okay.
Yeah.
And if someone wants, if a corporate calls you and they want to have the NLP course, so what is the process? How long does it take?
Well, usually for corporates, it's not the NLP course because what we do is I'll go there, I'll have a meeting with them and see where are their pain points, what are their needs, and where do they have challenges, and then the NLP content. It's more than NLP. I base a lot of the corporate courses on NLP, but also on emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. Emotional intelligence is basically, very simply said, knowing yourself, knowing others, managing yourself, and managing the relationship with others. And if you don't know yourself, if you don't have that self-awareness, you cannot change, right? So it's a lot of, so that's where it's based on. So if let's say an organization, we have to know who are you, what are your strengths, but also what are your weaknesses, where are your needs. And then I'll use a lot of these NLP tools that I just said, but incorporate them in the needs of the clients. Yeah. So it's not a off-the-shelf NLP course.
So it's what you give is like tailored solutions based on the corporation, based on the team they have, based on what they do. And
absolutely. The NLP course as such, to become an NLP practitioner or even a master practitioner, This will be for someone who wants to actually work with NLP. Use it, let's say, a therapist, a psychologist, a coach. Yeah, for life coaches, it's very useful to have these tools, to use it in their work. That's where people come to get certified in NLP. But for corporates, it would be really very bespoke.
Great. And how what do you think? I'm just thinking while you talk. Is it important for big corporations to have someone dedicated in NLP that is helping the team all the time, or what do you think about it? Or is it better for them to always have someone who will come and just help them and leave, or
It is often good to have someone from outside because you have a fresh view and someone who's not really hypnotized by the company
by the
already.
atmosphere in the company?
Yeah, because we are very much, when we are in an environment, we tend to see it from the inside of the environment. So, when I work with companies and I come from the outside, yes, we do tailor it to their needs, and we do use examples of the industry that we deal with. However, we don't know the people, we don't really mingle with the people, so we keep a very, very objective view on what's happening in there. We assess them really objectively. Now, having said that, it is a very good idea to have follow-ups. Yeah. So, for example, we do have some organizations that want a one-off training, which I always say this is really not effective. I mean, it is, yes, you get ideas, but you have to implement them. You have to you have to do something with them. So it's always a good idea to have a follow-up, and maybe even individual coaching sessions with the employees to see what is working, what is not working, where are we, where did we reach. So, and this is done in not only at Mind Your Power, but in general, a lot of other consultancies work the same way, to really follow up and make sure that what we learn or what we hear is implemented in my own way. Because even that, if I'll tell you now a technique, NLP technique, yeah,
Okay.
you can implement it in one way. Another person needs to make it their own and implement it in another way.
Okay, so who is the NLP certification course best for?
So the NLP.
What type of background should that person have?
Okay, so like I said, if someone wants to just be certified in NLP, there are stages. There is the basic NLP course, then is the master NLP course. Yes, they can come to. I do certify, and this is certified through the US, by the way, through the NFNLP in the US. So this is for people who actually want to use it, for example, life coaches who need the NLP techniques for the coaching sessions because it does help. Therapists, psychologists. It can also be for team leaders who maybe want to use NLP and within their team. So that would be that dedicated person, within a company that has the tools and can guide his team, for example. That can also be the case.
Okay, great.
But actually anyone, a parent, anyone. For relationships, I mean, this is because it's about communication. How many relationships break due to misunderstandings, miscommunication?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I'm seeing them because my wife is a lawyer.
Yep.
And she's getting many cases for divorce, and it's really
yeah.
And like, I'm always sitting on the side, and when I hear the reasons, I mean, it's really pathetic, for families to divorce for such reasons, and it's mainly because of miscommunication.
And also that lack of understanding that others have different needs than I have, but it's still okay. Yeah. You want to go out more, I want to sit at home more. It's not a reason for a divorce usually, right? If we agree on something. But what are the beliefs behind that? Maybe the one who goes out a lot, or the one who stays at home, and the partner wants to go out more. Maybe it's a fear of abandonment, or maybe it's a fear of, maybe it's jealousy that's behind it. Maybe it's an old experience of the husband cheating on me in the past. All of these past, and again, we go back to how we started today.
Yeah.
The past determines a lot of how we think today.
Yes, indeed, indeed. And of course, nobody is 100% perfect.
Except the two of us, Walid, right?
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, no,
I
of
mean,
course.
nobody's 100% perfect. So always, I mean, you need to have this kind of balance, even in relationships. This is the way how, example, we function. I mean, there is for sure things that I don't like, or things that she doesn't like, but you always have to balance. It's always give and take. So,
Give and take,
yeah.
and a lot of self-awareness. And we
Yeah,
go back to
yeah.
emotional intelligence. The more I'm aware of myself, and the more I'm open to feedback, this is a big area of training, actually, to give feedback. We don't live in a culture of feedback. We, especially here in the region, when we say something, it's a compliment.
Yeah.
But how many times do we actually get proper feedback? And I'm not saying it's criticism or something bad, it's just proper feedback. But I need to know feedback, because otherwise I don't know how do others perceive me. So in a relationship or with close friends, it would be so beneficial to actually start a culture of feedback, to say, Walid,
And to really
earlier,
say what you think, actually. Yeah.
say what you think, but in a nice way.
Yeah.
And say, when we were sitting downstairs, when we came in, the guy was talking to you, and you really turned your back and shouted, and he felt bad, and this was, yeah, I felt even bad for that. That's a kind of feedback, and you might not even be aware of that. Yeah. So the more people tell you that, it's okay. And if you realized, we always, in proper feedback, I don't say, oh, you are rude, because that would offend you, that would aggress you.
And
But
it will impact negatively.
yes, yes. But if I say, when you turned your back, it was really, he didn't like it, and he was saying something to you, and you just walked by. Ooh, I didn't even pay attention to that. So I'm just addressing basically what you did.
Yeah.
And I think if we have more of that in the culture in general, more acceptance for that, we could be much more aware of what we're actually doing, and how we're saying things, and how we're behaving, because we don't have a mirror there all day long. If we had, we would be really aware about a lot of things more.
Mirror, who's the most beautiful person in the world?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, now before I end the session, I just want you to tell the audience what is the information that they can find on your website. What are the courses that they can have or take with you, and what are the courses that are soon coming up, and or during like the year or.
Okay, so what are the courses? And so the website is mindyourpower.org, mind your power in one word, because it's really about minding your own power. What are the courses? So on one hand, we have the personal development courses. This is, like you said earlier, hypnotherapy. So hypnotherapy is not only the sessions that I do with people, but also there are certification courses in hypnotherapy. Actually, there's one right now that started right now. Typically, they are 3 times a year, and I have certification courses in English and also in Arabic. And in German. In German, not 3 times a year, but I've done, I do them bi-yearly. So, but maybe more in the
So
future.
you speak all 3 languages, yeah?
I speak 4 languages, actually.
Whoa.
Because I was born in Lebanon, and you grow up there with French, and my parents spoke English to each other. My mother is German, so I was basically raised with German. My father's Arabic, Lebanese, Palestinian, so obviously I was raised with Arabic too. So I do work in all 4 languages, though, because I'm fluent in all 4. But
Wonderful.
so the courses are but here for the region now, I do 3 times a year English and Arabic certification courses in hypnotherapy. So these are for people who actually want to be certified, again, also through the United States. And through Mind Your Power, of course.
So it is an accredited certification.
It is an accredited one, and it is to really, again, for coaches, for psychologists, for anyone who wants to add to what they're doing in helping people, helping them more thoroughly or deeply. It can be a yoga instructor, physiotherapist, because we said there's a lot of times. Just on a side note, when I work with people who have stroke or who had strokes, just by the power of the mind, they're able to actually really move their legs or their arms again. And I'm not saying, you tell them something and they do this. No,
Yeah.
but this is a really, really good way of helping the brain rewire the connections that says, okay, I can move my arm. It is crazy. It is amazing. So these are the courses that are there. The NLP certification, we spoke about it, also happens about twice a year. And then there's obviously the basic NLP and then the master NLP course. You have to have the basic in order to do the master course. The other things that you can find on the website is, of course, hypnoparenting courses. So hypnoparenting is typically a group course for parents to become aware. It has nothing to do with hypnosis, but it's really a lot of fun activities to get to know your child better, get to know yourself better, and how to deal with your child. Typically in a group session, because this gives you opportunity to also hear from others and share.
And usually in those courses, both parents are...
Yes, and I encourage both parents to be there because it's a family thing, you know. And then, of course, there is the whole corporate side, sales, customer service, leadership, team building, decision making, diversity and inclusion, problem solving. There are lots more. I don't have them now all in my head, but yeah, there is a lot of that. What else do I have on my website? Walid, you've done such a fantastic job with my website, and you're still doing it. What else is on there?
There are many things. We are still, soon we will be organizing the website fully. So it will be easier for everyone to find the course because you have many courses. And we will be organizing it and changing the full template, making it much more easier for people to find the courses immediately.
Yeah. So, and of course, now with the new technology and with actually an advantage that COVID brought is that a lot is happening online. So basically, they can be accessed from wherever you are in the world.
Yeah.
This also has the advantage of having many different insights and that diversity in the course. You know, if you have someone sitting in Australia, someone sitting in Jordan, and someone in I don't know, in Africa somewhere, and in the US, you have different views and different takes on the same issue, which makes it very, very interesting too.
And the good thing that I know the courses are not recorded; they are going live, right?
They are up to now. They are all fully live.
Okay.
However, I am in the process of recording courses, but not the full course. So it will never, ever be that you just buy a course and it's recorded and you have it. The way we're doing it now at the moment is I am recording the lesson itself, because that will make it easier for people to, or give them less time online. They will get the course, they will get the lessons, they will have to listen to them.
But they have their own time. When can they listen and when can they view?
Exactly, their own time.
They are not fixed to a certain time.
Yes.
Where they all have to be at that time on Zoom. And
that makes it easier.
You know, I actually made one poll on LinkedIn last week because I'm creating a course on digital marketing at the moment. And the poll was like asking the audience, if you have a course, would you like to have it fully recorded or fully live, or the combination of live and recorded, and most of the answers were a combination
Exactly.
of recorded and live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's and basically, especially for hypnotherapy, I cannot do it fully recorded, and I
Yeah.
will never ever do that, because for the practice sessions, they can have the lesson recorded, they can have the demo even. I have at the moment, I'm recording with two volunteers all the demos, yeah, so they will see exactly how I do it. They will even have the recorded version of these two people doing sessions on one another, and my
Okay.
feedback. All of that is recorded, but then they have to be live for the practice sessions, where they will be in breakout rooms. I will give them feedback one-on-one, because this is where the actual work is. Yeah, so it's
Wonderful.
always going to be that
Wonderful.
combination.
Great. Mona, I want to thank you very much for being our guest today. And I think that you have given a real big value to the audience and to many people around the world today.
I hope so.
Yes, definitely. I mean, your sessions, your talks are always really amazing. We had you the last time as a keynote speaker on our event, and the feedback was amazing
Your
from
event
everyone.
was amazing. Your event was amazing, and I
Thank
was
you.
honored to be
Thank
able
you.
to do a
And
keynote
I,
there.
I was talking to my team and I said, okay, I think that Mona should be there in every session, because you're really bringing value to the people's mind and to their thinking. I mean, many people start to rethink things after they listen to you.
That's the whole purpose, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I bring value. What I would like to, what the purpose is really to make the people think and to make them rethink things about themselves and their world, because it's always, how much do I allow, you know? It's not about me saying or adding value, it's just about maybe triggering something.
Yeah.
But if you are ready to allow yourself to change, allow yourself to maybe get new information, then you will. And you will in every single conversation that you have.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
if you say, no, you know, there's nothing for me
Yeah.
to learn, then you will not.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Great.
But it was a pleasure being with you again, and an honor. And
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you, Mona.
and thank you for everybody who listened. And I'm sure that you know, I through your links and I'm open to anyone who would like to ask any question. You know, anyone who still needs further information.
Anyways, we will leave the contact details, so people watching, they can contact you immediately and directly.
Yeah.
And of course, it will be on your social media, on our social media pages, on YouTube,
Yeah.
and everywhere.
Yeah.